first of all, I thought Vrabel addressed the room very nicely. I thought it was a good video of him. He seems to command the room. He seems to know what's going on in the NFL. Fantastic. Let's not overanalyze it. But just my own part, if I was in, I would just be hearing okay at some point. I'd be like writing down on my piece of paper how many times he said okay.
I mean, if you played that video 25 years ago, like the thing that would stick out to you is like, whoa, he's like okay with them being late every now and again.
Yep.
Like, that's what would stick out to you. Like a football coach is okay. Like it would have made him a player's coach 25 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, like not going, men, discipline is, or just some like hokey, like thing that would seem quaint and hokey now. So I thought it was good. I liked Mike Vrabel addressing the team. I thought it sounded good. He pointed out, he addressed Christian Gonzalez when he was talking about being late. He goes, Christian.
I thought that was, maybe that was like a little, that was the one thing I looked at, is that the Belichick thing, where Belichick would address Brady. Where you're like, I'm going to pick out the best player on the team, and I'm going to address him directly in the room, and like that's going to set the tone. Like these rules go for everybody. And so, like, the guy that I'm going to call out is the most talented player on the team.
Yeah, which is smart. And then and if you got a guy that can take it, I mean, that was part of the stew. That was part of the recipe for the second half of the Patriots' success, is that players uniformly have talked about it. Is Belichick during film sessions and meetings was incredibly hard on Brady. Brady took it.
Yeah.
So then, and everyone, respected Brady as the greatest player playing at that time.
I've told this story before, but like when I had a good relationship with Bill, I sat with him in 2008. This is the summer of 2008, and Brady was coming off the undefeated year, and I asked him, "What does it mean for you to have your best player win the parking spot every year?" This is when he was still winning the parking spot, hardest worker, most locked in guy who like is ever. And like he just looked at me, and he said, "It's exactly what you're looking for," and that was it, nothing else.
Well,
and it was like that's what you want. It's like you want your best player to exemplify what you are. Well, because then you don't have to tell anybody else anything.
Well, I make fun of Ray Lewis a lot, and we've heard from guys on his teams that half the team, it was just noise in the background when he would talk.
Yeah,
but Ray Lewis was that kind of guy, when he wasn't involved in the other stuff. Like, he was that kind of guy. Like, he was, if your best player is, your hardest worker, that sets the tone for the whole team, because you can't point at anyone. And that's kind of goes along with the whole, with free agency, right? Like, how you might be reticent to give a guy.
Because everybody's going to look at, like, okay, like, when a player goes into a player in the locker room, like, when a new coach comes in, they're going to pay attention. This is why I think it is legitimately, like, I really like what they did in free agency, because Milton Williams represents that. The other guys they brought in are guys they know. It's, if you're a middle of the roster player, what's the first thing you're going to do logically? You're 25 years old. You're going to like look at what the new boss is rewarding, right? Like, you're going to look at like, okay, like, what are they paying? Are they paying the most talented guy? Are they paying the most hardworking guy? Are they paying a guy who's a combination of both? Like, because you want to get paid. So you're going to pay attention to, like, what are they rewarding here? And, like, I think it's like, I know people have poked fun at it. I think it's a really important thing, is that, I mean, it's one reason why, for example, like the Raiders traded for Geno Smith, because Pete Carroll knows Geno Smith's going to come in there and be a torchbearer for his program. I mean, if you talk to Geno's like an evangelist for Pete Carroll. And Pete knows that. So, like, now Pete's got someone in the locker room like, all right, we paid this guy $40 million a year, and he is in lockstep with me. So you need to be in lockstep with me, too.
Can I ask you a question, since you brought it up? I'm very curious with the methodology of Seattle in the way that they're doing things. Or not Seattle, of
Vegas.
Vegas, sorry. Vegas in the way they're doing things is that, they're a bad team. They don't have a lot of talent.
Yep.
The strategy, it's. There is a strategy, which I like. I mean, there seems to be a modus operandi. But they brought in, it was unconventional in that a bad team brought in an old coach and traded and gave money an extension to an older quarterback. Yep. So what it probably goes along the lines of what you're saying, but what are they trying to accomplish there?
It's like, I think it's like sort of similar to what Kansas City did when they hired Andy Reid, where it's like, if you remember, that was a bad quarterback year too. That was the 2013 draft, which was E.J. Manuel in the first round. It was actually Geno in the second round that year.
Yeah.
But the idea,
No, Geno Smith in his draft was the first guy taken.
huh?
He was the first guy taken. He was the second round pick. Oh, he was the second? EJ
Manuel
in
Buffalo.
Oh, something I always believed
That
to be
was
the
in-
case. Is,
in the teens, right? That was like 13, 14.
Geno Smith was a second round pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Barkley, I believe, was in that draft,
Oh,
right?
jeez. Yeah.
So the idea is that you it's not a great year to be looking for a quarterback in the draft, and like that places like Kansas City was back then, where they need a complete cultural overhaul, right? Like, and they just need something. They need some sort of foundation. So Pete can give them that. Obviously, Brady had a huge hand in bringing in Pete, and I think it's like Brady has respect for what Pete built in Seattle, and he knows the guys who are in Seattle, and he knows like how unique what he had there was. So it's, can we establish like a new culture here? And then you bring in Geno Smith to get you to level ground, the same way Alex Smith was that guy in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So you don't have to force it at quarterback. So for the next 3 years, Geno Smith is their quarterback, and like they have a chance now where they don't have to like force it in one given year where it might not match up.
Yeah.
Like, so Kansas City, if you look, they really had how many draft picks did they use on players that weren't quarterbacks that built that roster up? So then when the opportunity came along where they said, that's the guy, and you have to get it right. That's not easy either, right? But like they bought them 4 years to find Pat Mahomes.
Right.
And so like I think that's what Geno does for them is Geno gets them to level ground. They presumably could, like he's been a playoff quarterback. So now they don't have to force that position. So they can kind of survey things over the next 2 to 3 years and wait for the right opportunity to come along, rather than being in this position where you have to force it in a single year, which is not where you want to be.
Okay, so what does Bert do for a living?
Oh, this is a rhetorical question. He covers the National Football League.
Does it well, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's real good.
Knows it like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
2013 draft.
Mm-hmm.
First quarterback taken.
Yeah.
Man by the name of Geno Smith.
Really? It wasn't E.J. Manuel.
Checkmate.
Did I have the year wrong?
E.J. Manuel wasn't. I thought you were right, and then
You were right.
Said it.
You were right. Yeah, he was taking
You really
16.
messed with me.
Gotcha.
He is very good at what he does,
my
Fred.
Yes,
It
you were
remains
right.
that way.
I wanted you to.
And there was
to
a quarterback in the third round. God, what was his name?
I have it up.
Okay, so he played for the Saints. He's from, I believe, and his name has the same first letter, both the same first letter is like the first name and the last name.
Okay, so you're not
And
thinking
he's-
of Mike Lennon, who
No,
was
no, no,
taken
no, no,
73rd.
No. I'm thinking about the Saints took a quarterback. God, what was his name? He's like from a mid-major school, and his initials were the same letter.
Okay, and you think it was in the third round?
Yeah.
Okay, I will be on the lookout for that. But
Okay.
when you heard Vrabel's speech, you know all the coaches. You go to all the training camps, or like certainly a lot of
Yeah.
them. What where would you, just based on, and I know we're overanalyzing a speech, but it's kind of just for fun. Like in terms of the way he addressed the team, like from super friendly players coach to disciplinarian coach of like active-ish coaches, like guys in the recent memory, where would he kind of land on that scale?
I mean, this is his strength. This is his strength, is being able to stand in front of the room and address guys and have command. And I think you saw really good command there. And this is like what he does really well, And I think I remember talking to him when he got the Titans job, and I remember him saying something to me about being able to relate with every guy in the room, right? And he said, like, the one thing I think I can do is I can relate to every single player here. I've been the guy who's fighting for a roster spot. I've been the guy who's running down on kickoffs on special teams. I've been the Pro Bowler. I've been the guy who's one of the highest paid players in the roster. I've been the veteran who's just hanging on at the end. He's like, he said, I can legitimately look out into the room, and I've been every one of those guys. And I think you can see with his command, right? Like over and I'm like, take the words out of it, take what he said out of it. Just watch his command and watch how comfortable he looks in front of the room, and watch how he, it looks like he's addressing everybody, and then having this is his
like the
element.
Mona Lisa.
No, this
always
is
seems like his eyes are on you.
This is his element. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
And we've heard from players, Aqib Talib, that that was the case in Denver with
Vance Joseph.
And it was the case in Detroit with Matt Patricia, where legit this thing that was taped, this very first meeting of the season,
they know
the veterans have looked at each other and gone, "This guy's an a-hole. Like, this guy's a complete loser."
No one knows faster than the players.
Right. So as much as I said, we're just kind of having fun, the first meeting we've heard from players directly from them that it was literally the first meeting. Patricia famously lined up his Super Bowl rings and then admonished everyone on the team for not having one. And whatever, I can't remember what Vance Joseph did.
Patricia's problem was he wasn't taking over something that was broken, because they were actually pretty good.
Yeah, Caldwell was good. Yeah, no one could understand why they fired Caldwell, because he was bold enough to have a winning record. He was 9-7. Yeah,
right.
And everyone was like, they don't win. Like, why would you fire a guy who actually won? And I think it was his dour demeanor. I really do. I think that if he was more. If he looked more enthused, I think it was that way. It was before this lady was this generation of the Fords owned the team. She's been a much better owner, but that was, I believe, William Clay Ford.
So this video came down too, right?
They took it down, I guess, pretty quickly after they put it up.
Because I saw it was they had the subtitles and it was the Spanish.
Right. I believe some Spanish social media account for the Patriots put it out.
But I don't understand why you would take that down.
I think I know why.
Why?
I bet it's because Mike doesn't want to make it about himself.
Okay.
I bet Mike saw that and said, that's corny as hell that we're putting that up there and making a big deal out of something that I don't want to make a big deal out of. It's like that line he had at the owners meeting, right? Which was, "We won March. Awesome."
Okay.
Right? Like, remember that line?
Yep.
I think that's what this is like that he probably feels like, this would be my guess. Again, no one said this to me, but my guess would be he probably saw that go up and what the hell? Like I'm just giving them the rules. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're making a big deal out of it. And so, if you see, I think one thing people here are going to learn about him is he is going to make it about the players, and because he was one, he's going to make everything he had no problem with the in-house media people, Perlo and all them, doing the videos with the players coming in and their kids in the locker. He has no problem with any of that. This isn't an access thing. This isn't like we're closing the gates and no one else can be in. I would bet that came down because Mike saw it and said, "I don't want this to be about me."
All right.
Because it makes it harder for him to sell it to the players then,
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, well, he said that stuff to us, but 5 minutes later, it's up on the internet.
He was performing for an online audience.
Right.
All right. It was more performative than it was substantive.
Right.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.